Assalamualaikum. Dear student, I am your teacher Mukesh Kumar. As we have completed our chapter number 3, planning steps in detail. So now we are going to discuss chapter number 4 of business communication, business writing principles, problems we face in communication. As we have discussed in earlier chapter, barriers of communication. So now, how to remove barriers in communication? We have to follow general principles to avoid barriers in communication. So our topic is discuss general communication problems in detail. What sort of communication problems we face in our communication? So we are going to discuss in detail one by one. Number one, interpretation of words means explanation of words. When the sender wants to convey the message to the receiver, so message sent and message received is identical. This is the purpose of communication. Ideas are planning in my mind, same ideas are planning should be in the mind of the receiver. In that way we can say that we can avoid barrier, and that is the proper way of communication. So we have to keep in mind that the message sent and message received is identical. Now, bypass instruction. Now, what is bypass instruction? Sender and receiver attribute different meaning. Now, for example, I convey something to the receiver and the receiver attribute different meaning. He might not understand. Might be a syntax problem, language structure problem, vocab problem, or the cultural differences. There are so many problems. It might occur in the mind of the receiver. So we can say, for example, knock you up. In built-in language, it's a quotation, knock you up. Knock you up means, I'll come to see you. Now, receiver might, think different meaning in his mind. I come to see you means there is some sort of problem. We might fight with each other, there might quarrel occurred. So, the meaning in the mind of receiver is not identical as in the mind of the sender. Another example, for example, two friends, they are arguing with one another that the health system of this hospital should be revamped. Revamped, now other receiver think in a way that it might be small improved. Revamped and small improved, actually they are same thing. But receiver is arguing on the thing that receiver is saying that it must be small improved, while the sender is saying that the system of the hospital must be revamped. Actually, the meaning in the mind of the receiver is different as is in the mind of the sender. This is we can call as a bypass instruction. Now, let's move to another point, denotation and connotation reaction. Now, denotation and connotation reaction, actually what is it? First, we have to understand what is denotation and what is connotation. Actually, I have written here, denotation refers expression by marks, symbol or sign. And connotation is a feeling, emotion associated with the primary meaning. We can say that denotation is the primary meaning of the something. For example, I say that rose, primary meaning is a flower. If this is a denotation, if I say connotation, it might be a romance, love. This is like the connotation. Extra additional meaning associated with the primary meaning, that is called connotation of something. For example, another word I say mob. Mob is a set of people. Simply we call it's a primary meaning, that is denotation. And connotation means this mob are happy, furious, angry, excited. This is like the additional meaning of something that we call connotation. Now, another thing that we are going to discuss, the comprehension of the reality. Now, the point we will cover in this abstracting, slanting, inferring, frozen evaluation, emotion and closed mind. Now, first we are going to discuss abstracting. What is abstracting? The filtering of something, like to jot down something from your own mind, from your own perception. When the sender conveys so many ideas, receiver filters something, receiver jot down something from the jumbled of ideas. That is we call, everybody has a perception, everybody have an imagination. When he think in a different way, that he jot down the idea. That is like abstracting, filtering of information as received. For example, I am saying clean the house. If I am saying to illiterate person, he might think that to rob the house. Understand? In the mind of the receiver, the meaning of that is something different. To rob the house. Clean the house, I mean to mop up, to clean the house, to mop up the house. So in the mind of the receiver, it might to clean the house mean to rob things. This is like the meaning in the mind of the receiver. That is, we call that obstructing. Being the filtering of the information received by the receiver is something different. It creates barrier in the communication. So we have to become clear about the thing that we want to say, that clean the house means to mop up the house, to clean the house. And another word is slanting. Now what is slanting? Judging the whole by part. Judging the whole by part means we cannot visualize one person is career by looking upon only CV and few qualities, because we have to thoroughly think about this career. So we cannot judge the thing by a part, by a single thing. That, for example, I say small crowd, large crowd, it creates confusion. It creates barriers in the communication. Now small crowd and large crowd, I might say that crowd, 5,000 crowd. I don't want to say small crowd, large crowd, it creates confusion. I say that dark, black about the product. I say different thing. Like it creates bad impact in the mind of the receiver. It creates barriers in the process of communication. So I might say only one thing, that is 5,000 crowd. So we have to avoid when we speak. Now inferring. Drawing conclusion on the basis of conclusion without seeing, hearing, listening, etc. Now only reach at the conclusion without any scientific proof, facts and figure, without seeing, listening, interpreting, just we have to decide the conclusion. It also creates barriers in the process of communication, because we have to avoid it. We cannot create conclusion without testing, without proofing, and without facts and figure, and without visual aid. We cannot examine something clearly. So that is called the inferring. And another thing, frozen evaluation. Frozen evaluation means extreme comment dichotomy should be avoided. Now sometimes we say extreme comment. For example, I say that this is the cheap product. Cheap product, it creates, like a barriers in the mind of the communication, barrier in the mind of the receiver. I cannot say cheap product. The product might be bad, product might be good. It cannot be bad for a long time. It varies from person to person. We cannot say bad or good. So I have to be careful about that, because it varies in person to person. It varies in degree, varies in time. We can say that. And next point is emotion. Worry, hatred, fear that adversely affect on the mind of the receiver. When we become emotional, preoccupied, conceived idea in our mind, it creates a negative impact, it creates a barrier in the process of communication. So another point we are going to discuss, that the closed mind. When the old age people, they become outdated. Sometimes we think that they have one thing in their mind, they don't want to listen to another thing. We can say that like young generation, they think and decide something quickly. Old age people, they think a lot and they decide, then they stand on it. So sometimes it also creates barriers from the young generation and the old age. So we can say that in order to avoid these kind of barriers or barriers in communication, we have to follow these general principles in order to understand in the process of communication in the detail. So that's it from the topic that I have discussed, the general problems of communication. Now we are going to discuss the lecture number 2 of this chapter number 4. That is very important topic, the writing skills that we can just have 9 CS of communication. Now what 9 CS of communication in examination is very important topic we discuss in detail. Thank you for watching.